Thanks, Conrad. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Have a seat. Thank you. It is really good to be here, and I say that for several reasons. First of all, as governor, as Tom had said, my primary objective is to make Tennessee the best location in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. In doing that, Chattanooga and this entire Southeast, I'm not sure if I'm standing too close to this or too far, but in this entire Southeast Tennessee area has been so helpful. Ron, when he was up here, talked about that Chattanooga is on the map, is on the buzz list of hot cities. And as we go around the country talking about Tennessee, your experience, whether it be recruiting Volkswagen or Amazon or so many of the other big victories around here recently come up frequently. And I believe you, it helps my job so much, the accomplishments that you've already had. So I'm here to thank you for that, number one. Number two, I'm here to thank you for loaning me Claude Ramsey. Claude came as my deputy governor, and his wisdom and his ability to wade into tough problems and answer them is incredibly, incredibly helpful. Number three, I came for a specific reason. Tom had mentioned that when they called, that Senator Corker spoke last year. Now, a lot of y'all know this, that Corker and I have been friends for almost 40 years. I was doing the math. And literally, I ran for mayor because he had talked me into what a great experience it had been for him as mayor of Chattanooga. And Tom had said, well, we'd love you to come. You know, last year, Senator Corker had 1,200 people. So my whole goal was to make certain we had more than 1,200 people here today. And so when Tom had said that we had over 1,300, I think, you know, those 200 people that I paid to come, I bought 100 extra people than I needed to. But if you run into Corker in the next few days, just tell him, hey, I heard Haslam had more people than you did. And he's not competitive, so it won't bother him much. Let me mention a couple of other things. I'm so proud to see the folks that are representing our military here today. I had the honor 2 weeks ago of going to Iraq and Afghanistan and representing our country. And they asked 4 governors to go. And about halfway through the trip, I asked the folks from the Pentagon, I said, well, why did the 4 of us get to go? And they said, well, it's real simple. Your state represents states with higher numbers of both enlisted folks and folks who are here through your National Guard programs. Your per capita participation in the military is at the very top. And obviously, you know, that's something to be proud of. But then I got there and I started meeting people. I want to mention 2 units because both of them have a lot of connection to this area, and I'm guessing there's people here that have relatives or friends serving. The 230, the Sustainment Brigade, which is out of Chattanooga, and the 190th Engineering, which is out of kind of a lot of folks from around East Tennessee. But I want to tell you a little bit about what I saw. I knew it was dangerous work. Obviously you get that real quick. But I don't think most of us have an appreciation for how hard it is, how hard the task that we've taken on there is, how hard the work. There's no such thing as a day off. You work 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. I was with some folks from the 190th Engineering. Here's what they do every day. They get up in over 100-degree weather. They put on about 80 pounds of body armor. They go out in heavily armored vehicles looking for roadside bombs. Now, roadside bombs aren't real obvious things that you look at. The bad guys plant them in everything from dead animals to dead people to newspapers. They're deployed in any number of ways that would bring harm to our folks. But every day, these folks from the 190th, they're out there, National Guard members. They're people like you and me that when they're not deployed for the year, they're accountants and plumbers and government workers and everything else. And to watch what they do day in and day out, like I said, so many from both of those 2 units from right around here should give you incredible pride. I walked away thinking I knew it was hard, I knew it was dangerous, but I had no idea the degree of difficulty. So when those units and others get home, please thank them. I got to see firsthand how difficult their job is. Well, let me shift a little bit. A lot of people ask me a couple of questions since I've been in this job. The first is, well, how do you like your job? And is it what you expected? The answer to how do you like it is, I love doing this. Yesterday was actually another thing that Corker and I have in common. I think either today or tomorrow is his birthday, and yesterday was my birthday. He's a little older than I am, but yesterday was my birthday. And I left home at 6 a.m., had to go to Memphis for something. We went on an economic development trip, and finally I walked up the stairs last night about 11:30, and Chrissy said, my wife Chrissy said, I'm so sorry, you know, your birthday wasn't a very fun day. I said, are you kidding? I got to be out selling Tennessee, talking to businesses from all across the country about what a great place this is. I wouldn't trade jobs with anybody, and I really do feel like that. People hear me say that, but being the governor of this state is an incredible honor and privilege, and every day I get to do it, I go home thinking how glad I am that I get to do this. The other question people ask is, well, is this what you were expecting? And the answer is some. I knew what the job looked like. I'd been a mayor like Mayor Coppinger and Mayor Littlefield, so I knew what it looked like. I knew how broad it was. I just didn't know what the impact. I tell people all the time, kind of silly me, I just didn't know what a big deal it was to be governor. And so now when you walk into a restaurant, somebody will say, look, there goes the governor, and I still turn around and look and go, where? And I had a chance to speak earlier in the year to all of our National Guard soldiers came together back in February in Murfreesboro. And so I don't know how many people in the room because a lot were deployed, but there's like 1,000 soldiers in the room. And they asked me to wait in the back, and everybody has their battle flags flying along the aisles of where they're seated, and everybody's in camo, and they have a sergeant standing there next to me to escort me forward. And up front, I hear this, loudspeaker voice say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander-in-Chief of the Tennessee National Guard." And the music starts playing, everybody stands up, and the guy elbows me and goes, "That's you." So it takes a little getting used to. But having said that, like I said, I wouldn't trade the honor for anything that I would ever have a chance to do. It means the way that people feel about the governor of Tennessee, and it's not me, it comes with the office and the people that have worked hard to make it that way, makes doing this every day a huge honor. So the other thing people ask me is, well, what are you trying to do anyway? As a governor, if you think about it, it's a lot like being a mayor. You have a choice. You have a choice. Am I going to spend my time on things to make the state better, improving education, bringing businesses to Tennessee, a lot of those things, or to make state government better? Those aren't exactly the same thing, right? State government has 45,000 employees. It's a huge organization. Making the state better literally, I could do something every minute of every day that would be worthwhile in terms of helping advance the state, and you would still leave a lot left to do. So in that, how do you decide what you're going to do? How are you going to decide what the priority is? Well, let me just say this. In making Tennessee a better place, we start from a very, very good place. A lot of people say, well, tell me what's happening. I hear everything about Washington, the cutbacks in funding. How's that going to affect you? Well, anytime there's tough times, it helps to start out strong. And here's why that's true in Tennessee. In debt, if you look at debt per capita, debt per citizen, we're the second lowest from the bottom, if you count debt being total debt of the state plus pension fund obligations. We have a low tax rate. Those two things, when we go out to recruit businesses, help us. Because businesses, when they're looking at relocation, they want to know, well, we see all these increased costs coming out of Washington. Who's going to pay for those? And when they see a strong financial state, that helps us incredibly. Recently, or last week, our Commissioner of Finance and a lot of state officers went to New York to meet with the bond rating agencies, and I will be going up there in September for a final meeting with them. When I go there, it's easy to tell our story. Tennessee's a AAA rated state in our credit. We had a budget this year this is really significant, thanks to people like the Majority Leader Gerald McCormick and the Senate Pro Tem Leader Bo Watson, who you've sent us, and by the way, are wonderful leaders. But we passed a budget in today's partisan times that was 4.5% less than last year. Okay, due to federal government cutbacks, we had 4.5% fewer dollars. We had a budget that was smaller, and yet it passed unanimously, which just means that we have a legislature that understands the challenges before us and is willing to make those hard decisions. People say, well, what's going to happen coming forward? Well, I don't know what's going to happen out of Washington, D.C., but I do know this. Washington, D.C. will be sending less money to states and to local governments. That's just a fact. How much less, I don't know. Our Commissioner of Finance last week said, asked each department head to prepare a budget as if you lost 15% or maybe as much as 30% of your federal funding. What would you do? Now, we don't quite frankly think we'll lose that much federal funding, but we think it's our job to prepare and to be ready for that. And I think that's the kind of government that you want, one that's looking forward, being proactive about addressing challenges like that. Our goal, again, as Tom Ed said, is to make Tennessee the #1 location in the Southeast for jobs. People make decisions on increasing jobs when they have confidence. People say all the time, well, what's happening? Why is our country stuck with high unemployment levels? I think it's this. What's coming out of Washington is giving no one confidence that we have the sort of environment that's worthy of investing capital. People invest capital when they're confident about the environment that they're going into. And unfortunately, on a national level, we haven't created that. Well, we can sit back and complain about that all the time, or in Tennessee, we can do something about that. So in Tennessee, we've moved forward. We're working hand in hand with a lot of local regional development, economic development organizations like this. We had some major legislative initiatives this year. We passed a tort reform bill, which I think gives businesses a much more predictable environment and is going to increase investment. And that's not just my opinion. Since that was passed, I probably had over 200 different businesses say that decision in Tennessee greatly increased our likelihood of investing there. We made it easier for businesses to set up their own captive insurance companies, and we have a line of people already waiting to file their applications with the state to do that. We worked hard to keep our taxes low. Like I said, when the federal funds got cut, we could think about raising taxes, or we could make the cuts we needed to in government. We knew it was important to keep taxes low to attract businesses like yours, and we made those adjustments. So what else can we do? We can go out and be proactive about selling Tennessee, and we're doing that. I bet since I've been in office, I've met with over 1,000 leaders of different businesses in roundtables, in dinners at the governor's residence, in dinners like we had last night out of state, recruiting people to come in. And the most important thing we do is listen. We ask them, tell us what we can do to make Tennessee more attractive to your investment, and tell us what it is about Tennessee, the things that you like and don't like, so that we can make certain that we're reacting to that. Overall, what I consistently hear back is this. Tennessee is a low-tax state with an attractive business climate with a great quality of life. What helps me about what you've done in Chattanooga is this. You've created a great quality of life through mayors Kinsey and Corker and Littlefield and Ramsey and Ramsey and Ramsey and then Coppinger. You have such a strong history of local leadership. And what you've done is make this a place where people want to live. Last night at dinner with 10 different CEOs that ran businesses from around various places, I said, at the end of the day, what makes you decide we're going to invest one place rather than another? They said it's all about attracting a great workforce. It's about having the very best human capital you can, and they want to live in a place that's attractive to live. You all have done that here, and it makes all of our job easier, and because of that, I'm very, very grateful. The other key thing I think is this. We adopted our strategy to make it easier to work with folks like the Chattanooga Chamber and all the other different regional players that are here. We divided the state up into 9 different regions, realizing that everybody couldn't get everything they wanted from Nashville all the time, and there was sometimes a high degree of frustration when you dealt with the state. You didn't know who to go to for answers. Chattanooga is in our southeast region, and Patsy Hazelwood, who a lot of you all know is here, is heading that up for us. But we want there to be an easy local place in each region where you can go to answer your questions about expanding your business in Tennessee. Those are some of the things we're doing short term, but long term, here's the biggest challenge. In those over 1,000 conversations I've had, I've always said, tell me what you like best about Tennessee and tell me the things you'd like to see improvement. And out of those 1,000 conversations, I bet 900 plus have sounded something like this. Well, overall, we love being in Tennessee. The spirit of the workforce, the work ethic, the work drive of people is fantastic, and we love it. But quite frankly, we need you to continue working to improve education. The workforce development and training, while we think it's better, still has a long way to go, particularly in the areas of science and math and engineering, the so-called STEM initiatives. According to the Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce, of the new jobs that are going to be created in the next 10 years, 54% of them will require a degree. Okay? Now that's a problem for us in Tennessee because only 21% of our citizens have a degree. So we have a basic fundamental math problem. Now, people say to me all the time, well, college isn't meant for everyone, and it's not. We have a wonderful technical center program in Tennessee. We have some career technical education in our high schools that I think is getting to be more and more right-focused. But college has to be for more Tennesseans than it's been in the past if we're going to compete for those jobs. We can't stay where we are. Right now, we rank about, in this last year, we ranked 45th in 4th grade reading and 43rd in 8th grade math. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to attack those problems. The wrong way is to point fingers. Some people have responded by saying, see, it's the teacher's fault, or it's the professional educators, the principals, or maybe it's the parents, they're not doing enough, or maybe it's the politicians, and they go on down the line. Here is what I think the truth is. The problem is much deeper and bigger than that. As Tennesseans, we haven't taken seriously enough our need to raise our expectations when it comes to education, and that's across the board true. So I really don't want us as a state saying, oh, we rank 43rd, we must have bad teachers. That's not true. We rank 43rd, our parents must not care. That's not true. I can go on and on with the example. What it should mean is this. In Tennessee, if we're going to compete, if Chattanooga is still going to be that position of strength in this entire southeast part of Tennessee, then we really have to raise our expectations around education. It really is that simple. We're approaching the 10-year anniversary of No Child Left Behind. And a lot of people have said, well, I saw that the state had asked for a waiver from that. I don't get it. It sounds like you're saying raise standards, but you want a waiver from the standards of No Child Left Behind. It's actually real simple. No Child Left Behind, I think, performed a valuable function for a long time, but it's outgrown that. No Child Left Behind now is measuring on standards rather than seeing how much we're improving, it's measuring on really unattainable standards. In Tennessee, we changed the criteria for how we grade ourselves. That was the right thing to do. Before, we were grading ourselves too easy. We raised the standard and the bar, but now, according to No Child Left Behind, in about a 2-year period, almost every school in the state will be listed as non-attainment. Well, if the goal is totally unattainable, then it's really not a very good goal. If I said in here, how many people think that we need to get in better physical shape as Tennesseans? I'm thinking everybody in here would raise your hand. And I said, okay, well, there's two alternatives. One, you can come up with a plan that measures your improvement and really does show that. Or number two, I think the valid measure of being in physical shape is that everybody should be able to run a mile in 5 minutes. Okay, well, you go, well, you know, except for a few maybe, cross-country people from UTC that might happen to be in the room, I don't think anybody in here can run a 5-minute mile. So if that's the standard for being in shape, nobody's going to be motivated to do it because you're just going to say, well, fine, that's a goal that's not going to happen on my watch. That's what No Child Left Behind had evolved into, and that's why we're asking for a waiver that lets us hold ourselves to the own high standards that we set up in our successful application for Race to the Top. We're not letting off on standards at all, but really will measure improvement and will give people realistic goals to work toward. As a result, we filed for a 4-year waiver from the Department of Education. The Secretary of Education was in Tennessee last week, and we had a terrific meeting. He signaled out Tennessee as being really at the very forefront of education reform and made those connections. We lead the nation in the amount of data we collect about student performance. We need to use that to put meaningful reforms in place and to measure ourselves in a rigorous way. And I can promise you, asking for a waiver from No Child Left Behind does not mean we're trying to exempt ourselves from those things. There are some other things, though, that we need to do if we're going to become the state that we want to be. And those are the things I talked about making state government better. As I said, we have 45,000 employees. As an example, the state, for those of you in the real estate business, the state either leases or owns about 6 million square feet of office space. So if we can figure out a way to run that for $2 a square foot cheaper, and some of you in the real estate business know that can be done, that saves the state $12 million. I can give you 100 different examples like that of things that we're doing. Our approach to state government has been this. We've literally gone department by department and asked every commissioner to work with folks throughout the department to say, 2 questions. Number one, should we even be doing this particular function of state government? And if so, number 2, are we doing it as effectively as we can? The question is this: if you were starting all over again, would you set it up the same way? When you have a 220-year organization like the state of Tennessee that has 45,000 employees, it's pretty easy just to keep doing things the same old way. Our job is to totally reform the way we do state government, and I think we're on the way to doing that. Well, let me just say this as I wrap up. The challenges in front of us are huge, but I meant what I said when I said I wouldn't trade jobs with anybody. We have some particular advantages that other states and governors would die for. I came back from several weeks ago from the National Governors Association meeting, and I had a chance to sit and talk with other governors about what's happening in their state. I compare the financial situation we're in, like I said, with low debt and a low tax rate. I compare the energy and initiatives coming out of us on the economic development front, and you all are kind of the prime case example of how that should work. And I look at the true education reforms that, despite the fact that results-wise we're still closer to the bottom than we would like to be, really are making a difference, and recognize that. So as governor, what do I think my role is? I think it's this. I think it's continue to raise our expectations of how we see ourselves as Tennesseans. To ask ourselves, are we doing everything we can to make certain we're preparing our children for the future? To ask ourselves, are we doing everything we can to recruit jobs to Tennessee? I loved when Ron said, hey, this is bigger than just us. It's bigger than the chamber leadership. It's bigger than state government. All of us have a role. Every company I've talked to, when I say, how do you make a decision about where you're going to relocate, says this. End of the day, we listen to people who are already there because they're the people that can give us real life experience. So would you join us in doing that? We really can make Tennessee the best location in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. We really can lead the country in education reform. I think we're on the way. We really can model what good government looks like in hard times. I think our legislature is already doing that, and I can promise you we have an administration that is set on doing that as well. So thank you once again for two things. One, for being here today. It shows your commitment to your region, but to our state and what we're trying to do. And secondly, for giving me the opportunity to be here and to act as your governor. I can promise you that a day never goes by when I don't wake up grateful for the incredible opportunity you've given me. Thank you very, very much.